Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you always for stopping by. I'm grateful. Of course, I attended the TCAD conference over the weekend, and I like the rhetoric of these sorts of big set pieces. I must admit, Shinzo Abe did not disappoint. Let us advance together. Africa and Japan. The future abounds with blazes of bright colors, he said. First ever TCAD held in Africa, and that TCAD was begun in 1993, so it's quite a big deal, in my opinion. Home thoughts, and love this photograph of pomegranate, such a delicious fruit, very tasty. I like this photograph of a beach in Qingdao, in search of China, quite a scene, sort of Western European even. In order to fabricate, I always need the trampoline of reality. Vargas, Llosa. Then I found this photograph of him, and the translation from Spanish is that the destination of Latin America is decided in Venezuela, he says. Interesting point. Because in the civilization of the spectacle, intellectuals are of interest only if they play the fashion game and become clowns. I'll put up another photograph of him that I found and leave you with one final quote. Because of literature, we can decipher, at least partially, the hieroglyphic that existence tends to be for the great majority human beings. Vargas Llosa, if you haven't read him, do. He's fantastic. I like this photograph from I Speak Machine, just arrived in London. Look at the shadow of the aeroplane. Political reflections. Kim has 2 officials killed by anti-aircraft gun, Pyongyang says. 2 senior North Korean officials were executed with an anti-aircraft gun in early August on the orders of Kim Jong-un. South Korea's Yonhap Ilbo newspaper reported, citing people it did not identify. Ri Yong-yin, a senior official in the education ministry, possibly minister, was arrested for dozing off during a meeting with Kim and charged with corruption before being killed. Pretty dramatic regime over there in the Hermit Kingdom. The drone presidency, says the New York Review of Books. On March 5, the United States used unmanned drones and manned aircraft to drop bombs on a group of what it described as Al-Shabaab militants at a camp about 120 miles north of Mogadishu, Somalia, killing approximately 150 of them. I remember remarking at the time, thinking to myself, that's the most extraordinary number of people killed. The point is, President Obama has gone simply off the charts, or parabolic is the word for the chartists, with his drone strikes. The news that the United States had killed 150 unnamed individuals in a country halfway around the world with which it is not at war generated barely a ripple of attention, much less any protest. Here at home, remote killing outside of war zones, it seems, has become business as usual. India and the US are set to become logistical allies. It's interesting passing of language there, the way the terminology they've used. And I take you back to something that Prime Minister Abe Shinzo said. He said, Japan bears the responsibility of fostering the confluence of the Pacific and the Indian Oceans. And I concluded in my piece over the weekend, I foresee Japan, alongside the US and India, seeking to contain, patrol, triangulate China in the Indian Ocean. US and India signed major military pact amid Chinese concerns. That's RT.com. Once the genie of religious nationalism gets out of the bottle, Islamist or Hindu alike, all the Joe Bidens of the world still cannot get control of it again. Sarkozy's hard line on Burkini shows him betting on the French right. Nicolas Sarkozy and Alain Juppé, the front runners in the race for the presidential nomination of France's Republican Party, scrapped over the politics of Islamic beachwear, using identity politics to stake out their positions in an increasingly close contest. Politicians need to stop throwing oil on the fire, Juppé said repeatedly throughout the weekend. Agitation doesn't equal authority. Sarkozy held his ground, saying that he plans to ban the burkini on beaches and at public swimming pools. The question is whether society adapts to the law or law adapts to society, he said Monday on RTL radio. So there we go, the fault line for all of us to see. How Aramco grew from one well to the world's most valuable company. Interesting article in Bloomberg. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro dollar 111.71. Dollar index 95.71. Japanese yen 102.24. Swissy 0.9805. The pound 113.91. The Australian dollar 0.7554. India rupee 67.095. South Korean won 11.1803. The Rial 322.80. Egyptian pound 887.92. The Rand 1443.03. I'll put up a 3-month chart of the dollar index. I think we're going to hold here and push back higher. 93 is actually the key area of support. Commodity markets, gold is headed for the first monthly decline since May, trading around 1323.66 this morning, dropped to 1314.99 on Monday, lowest level since July 26, and it's down 2% this month. Key area I've noticed is 1306 to 1310. Silver is down 7.7% this month. Platinum fell 6.3%. Palladium down 2%. Gold, I'll put up a 6-month chart of that. I'm still of the view that if we can hold above that level of 1304 to 1310, we're okay. Crude oil, US crude $47.50. I'll put up a 1-month chart. I'm not convinced about this rally. Let's see how we proceed from here. Mexico completes its oil hedge for 2017 at $38 a barrel for its oil basket, equal to about $46 a barrel for Brent. So it's interesting that they're looking through the entire year and thinking they're better off hedging it out. I think they're right. Sub-Saharan Africa, Gabon opposition candidate calls on President Bongo to acknowledge his defeat. Closely run elections, contested elections, are a real flashpoint in Africa. I'll put up a photograph of the opposition candidate, Jean Ping. Zimbabwe, this is a photograph from Haru Mutasa, who works for Al Jazeera from Zimbabwe. Outside Magistrates Court, Harare, people arrested in last week's anti-government protests appearing. And you can see that they're putting up some protection. This time the uprising in Zimbabwe is different, but will it effect regime change, asks the Mail and Guardian. It certainly is of a quantum that President Mugabe has not met before. Fly, South Africa, is asking lenders for $1 billion. And given the corporate governance issues, I think that's a big stretch. I won't give it to them. These 3 drawdowns are envisaged starting end of October, the firm said, adding that bidders could submit proposals for part or all of the required funding from Monday until September the 16th. I don't think that many people are going to be rushing. South African all-share up 5.66% this year. South Africa's credit rating would be cut and the rand would buckle if Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan is removed from his post, said Goldman Sachs. Currency has slumped 6.2% since August 23 when a news website reported that the Hawks police unit had summoned Gordhan in connection with an investigation into alleged irregularities at the Tax Collection Authority, which he headed from 1998 to 2009. Gordhan has refused to report to police, saying he has done nothing wrong. Opposition parties and some independent analysts have accused President Jacob Zuma, 74, of trying to gain greater control of the National Treasury, a claim he's rejected. The underlying issue is what is the political agenda driving this attack on the minister, said Colin Coleman, partner and head of Goldman Sachs in South Africa. If the minister is arrested or charged, you will see the rand buckle further. It will be very badly taken by the ratings agencies and will probably result in South Africa being downgraded. Increasingly looks like President Zuma is going to take this to its denouement. Van Rooyen blasts Gordhan for running to the media. It's hilarious. You can't make this stuff up. The most serious candidate to replace Gordhan is Molefe, apparently in Eskom, and that's why there's a bit of a war going on. Dollar rand, last time I looked, 14.43. I'm a bear of the rand because of the political risk. Egyptian EGX 30 up 14.65% this year. Nigeria manufacturers say dollars still scarce after devaluation. I don't think there are any more dollars in the system since the devaluation, he said in an interview in Lagos. Not much has happened so far. Power output today is a far cry from what we had in 2014. It's dropped significantly, so that's not another bad sign, I'm afraid. Nigeria all share minus 4.45%. It was actually not too far away from me, President Buhari, but I went to hello to President Nyusi and a number of other ones, but I didn't go up to him. He looked way too austere, and I didn't feel like barging in. Ghana Stock Exchange, minus 9.05% this year. 7 out of 10 people living in rural Angola do not have a clean, safe toilet to use. However, I did like the photograph. IMF sees Kenyan cap on bank loan rates blunting monetary policy. Kenya's decision to limit the rate that commercial banks can charge for loans will cloud the central bank's monetary policy signals and may undermine efforts to keep inflation within the government's target range. IMF. The central bank has been more effective in containing inflation over the past 3 years. Controls being introduced are going to blur the signals that emanate from its interest rate decisions, Armando Morales. The central bank will need to go back to revise the arsenal of its instruments to see how they can offset this blurring of signals in the market, he said. The impact of the new legislation won't be homogeneous, as smaller banks may bear the brunt. That's an important point. I think they're largely terminated. Kenyans' demands for low interest rates are legitimate. Instituting rate caps is the wrong way to solve the problem, Morales said. In our experience, using controls to lower the cost of financing has not been successful, he said. We think it doesn't work. The law pegs credit costs at 400 basis points above the central bank rates and requires lenders to pay depositors 70% of the main lending rate. Kenyan banks extended loans at a weighted average of 18% in June, according to central bank data. My feelings are pretty crystal clear. I think, we all want lower interest rates, but I'm not sure this is going to have the outcome that's desired. And what was interesting, I was at this conference this morning, and one of the proponents of the bill from Parliament was there speaking, and he sort of said, look, we weren't getting much traction with our negotiations, and this was a kind of shock therapy. So I think people are going to back up from here. As I said on the 29th of August, what was crystal clear is even if, and this is another problem, the President had sent the bill back, it would have boomeranged right back with a parliamentary supermajority. Therefore, my point is, let's not pop the champagne just yet, because I'm not sure there is a golden flood of liquidity at a price of 14.5% for all and sundry. I still think we're at a Schumpeter moment for banking. A little while ago I said that, according to Schumpeter, the gale of creative destruction describes the process of industrial mutation that incessantly revolutionizes the economic structure from within, incessantly destroying the old one, incessantly creating a new one. On Thursday and Friday, a gale of creative destruction blew through the banking sector. But as I said in that article over the weekend, it has rebounded. I&M Holdings have reported first half earnings per share up 22.537%, total assets up 11.113%. Earnings per share was up 22.537%. Strong contribution from regional subsidiaries, 18% of the total group, on a trading price earnings ratio of 4.58, and having accelerated first half earnings per share 22.537%, looks a good price, especially after the sell-off. KCB down 25.9% over 3 sessions before this morning. It's bouncing. Equity down 25.69%, 3 sessions through this morning. That's bouncing. Co-op Bank down 26.41%, through this morning on over 3 sessions. That's bouncing as well. Nation Media reported first half earnings per share was down 15.587%, turnover down 7.79%, profit before tax down 19.915%, earnings per share down 15.587%. They have, however, maintained an interim dividend of more than 50% of the EPS. Listen to these comments. Group performance was adversely affected by revenue shortfall occasioned by a drop in volumes and bad debt provisions due to delayed payments, especially by government entities. It's not good. The economic environment in the local and regional economies remains challenging and adversely affecting business. Interim dividend 2 shillings 50 a share. It's a Schumpeter moment in the media world as well, and the share price has been signalling business weakness for a while. Kenya Re reported first half earnings per share up 3.721%, gross written premium up 14.388%, investment income up 18.828%, earnings per share up 3.721%. It's an inexpensive share on a PE of less than 4. They've been making lots of investments cross holdings, and I think it's a cheap share actually. Nairobi All Share, which is tumbled 8.86% over the last 3 sessions, is now down 8.37% year to date. NSE 20 down 9.79% over 3 sessions. This is a 58-month closing low. It's down 22.7% year to date. East African Cables report eked out a first half earnings per share of 1 cent versus a loss of 11 cents previously. Revenue net earnings from our Kenya operations grew by 18% and 42% respectively. Increased demand from local utilities for last mile connectivity projects. Cash generated from operations improved by 431 million. No interim dividend. A healthy current order book. Improving trajectory and metrics. Crown Paints reported first half earnings per share up 60%. You'll have to take a look at Rich Wrap-ups to look at those results. Once again, I'm grateful that you stopped by.